Hello, Scrafters of 22. I'm back again. This is, I believe, the EMS StarCraft tournament, and this is the first replay that I've received. So we have got, who have we got? gzmq, something like that. Gazmos, I don't know. gzmq. How am I supposed to be saying that? Anyway, he's Terran. He's down in the bottom left here of Redshift. And our Zerg player is Xanathar up in the top left. So Xanathar sending an Overlord sort of southwards, which is pretty much what you'd expect. Let's speed things along so that we see what these two players get up to. Obviously this is round one, very first matches. It's straight in. This is classic EMS StarCraft we're watching here. Straight in with the double supply depot. No wall off in sight. Now this is Redshift. It's a slightly unusual map. You've got this business out the back that you can get to with these, and it's a really bizarre setup because obviously your opponent can come around the other side of these. So mine these at your own risk, really. You've got some destructible rocks here, but I'm pretty sure there's a gap next to it. No attempt to wall off by gzmq, none whatsoever. Meanwhile, up in Zergland, pool is finished. That is up and going. There's a couple of Lings in production, but it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a big Ling swarm. However, there's no expo for Xanathar whatsoever. So if you're a budding young Zerg player and you're trying to figure out how to play as Zerg, one of the key things to Zerg is you always want to have, at least one more base than your opponent. So Zergs very typically just expand straight away. Start of the game, first thing you build, hatchery, boom. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is, and the most important one really, is that all of your units come from the hatchery. So if you've only got one hatchery, you cannot build very many units. It's as simple as that. You need more hatcheries to be able to build more units. Now, here is a reasonable swell of Zerglings that's going to come out onto the map. At this moment in time, if we have a quick look at army supply, it's actually not that skewed. Obviously, there's a little bit more on the side of the Zerg here. That bunker has nothing in it, so that's just going to get an insta-surround and kill. And the Lings are going to come up into the base here and do what they like, because there's no wall preventing them from coming in. So, gzmq, top tip, always build your supply depots, your buildings, in such a way that you're walling off your ramp here. If we have a look at the worker supply, if the Terran can survive this, if the Terran can get through this, even only losing sort of 10 workers, then he's in good shape. So look, still has a massive worker advantage, has got a mining base in the gold. So if we look at the income advantage, our Terran is right now simply miles ahead. 2 base Terran against a 1 base Zerg is not where you want to be as Zerg. 2 base Terran, you want to be on 3 bases as the Zerg. The other reason I said there's a couple of reasons. The other reason a Zerg can expand faster than everyone else is because hatcheries cost less. Hatchery costs 300, command center costs 400. So you can throw down hatcheries in a slightly more disposable way. Now that price of 300, do bear in mind that it actually costs you 300 plus a worker. Never forget that Zerg structures, workers turn into the structures rather than building them. So, each Zerg structures tend to be a little bit cheaper than everything else, but into that price you have to include the cost of 50 for a drone, and of course the build time for that drone as well. So, Xanathar getting a Baneling nest up, which is an excellent choice. Banelings, little suicide bombers essentially. That bunker was stopping the command center from going down, so salvage that one. Always worth remembering as a Terran, if there's something blocking your CC, you can start building the command center anyway, because of course Terran buildings fly. Now, in the production tab, there frighteningly are not workers being made for the Zerg, and that's making me a little bit concerned. 16 workers only is just not enough. By this 7-minute mark as a Zerg, really you want to be on 3 or 4 bases with a full complement of about 70 or 80 workers by now, and then you're in great shape and you can just throw units at your opponent. One of the key features of Zerg is that they can produce large quantities of units very quickly indeed. So once you get yourself into a position where you've got an economic advantage, you can turn that into a sort of tactical advantage by just wearing your opponent down, by just throwing huge swarms of units at them, knowing full well that you can replace your units faster than they can, because they just don't have the money to do it, because, oh, that's a lot of Banelings to take out a bunker there. So, you know, the Banelings will do it, but it isn't a particularly efficient trade. What you really want your Banelings to be doing is hitting these Marines. These squishy Marines will die awfully quickly to Banelings. Now, Roaches will trade pretty well here. Probably, oh, it doesn't quite get the siege tank, but the siege tank is going to siege up, so the Roaches are going to be able to come up and just surround it. But this looks a little ominous. There are 2 factories here and 3 barracks, but there isn't anything in production. I'm not really sure why gzmq isn't building anything. You'd think with these units in your base, you'd be busily trying to finally 3 Marines start. But, you know, a little bit late. Not sure why there weren't siege tanks in production this whole time. There is no shortage of money on either side, no shortage of supply on either side. So these handful of Roaches getting far more done than they really should. The worker supply has dropped pretty drastically, so a lot of value from that little attack, dropping the Terran supply. But look, the Zerg still only has 19 workers, so is still behind on the worker front, and that, as I've said, that is going to get ugly. Eventually, these Roaches are quickly going to become worthless as the Terran techs up. You know, Roach tech is not particularly high tech, so Roaches are strong in the early game. In the late game, they kind of become pretty worthless, as the Terran gets out more and more mech units. Thors and things like that will chew through those Roaches pretty fast. Now, gzmq needs to pay some attention to housekeeping here. There are 17 SCVs mining, and there's only room for 8, which means at any given time there's 9 SCVs essentially just waiting for a mineral patch to become available. So you need to transfer some of those, maybe send them down into the gold here to get maximum value from them, and definitely get maybe some more gas on the go as well. As you can see, there's a big imbalance on both sides of the map between the amount of minerals mined and the amount of gas. So, Xanathar, what are you doing? Let's have a little peek right now. Yeah, you know, building more of the same, which, yeah, you did get some stuff done with those last time, but are there any upgrades on these? Has anything changed since last time? I fear not. Finally, we do see an Evo chamber coming down, but it's going to be a while before there's any upgrades for these units. So, attacking it again at this stage is not going to be successful. Look how many Thors are waiting. There's 2 bunkers here, 3 siege tanks, a world of Thors. Those Roaches will get absolutely chewed up if they try and push into there. It'd be ugly. A really nasty engagement that would be. So, you know, Xanathar needs to think of some other tech switch here to get involved and do some damage to his opponent. More than anything else, though, Xanathar, you need to expand. You need those bases. Look, we're 14 minutes in. By now, the Zerg should have just eaten this entire top half of the map. Look how many minerals there are in the bank here for Xanathar. And the issue that he's got is, well, twofold. One, doesn't have the gas, only 1 gas mining, with only 2 workers in that, so it doesn't have the gas to match the mineral count. And the other problem is there just aren't enough bases. No, this is not a great engagement for. He should have stayed where he was and just pulled the floors back. In general, you know, as the Terran, you want to lure your opponent into your siege tank range. So yeah, slightly unfortunate to get caught that far forward. As it was, nevertheless, the Terran mech just chews through those Roaches pretty handily indeed. Let's take a quick peek at the upgrades tab. You can see though we've got 1-1 for the bio on the Terran side, but yeah, what? Hang on, what is that? Isn't that? Oh no, wait, is that what +1 attack for the mech? Maybe it is. So that's just finished up as well. On the Zerg side, the only upgrade we've got is Zergling speed though. So, you know, that upgrade advantage combined with just in general, these are tier 3 units, Thors. You know, a Thor is a mighty thing. 400 health, packs a serious punch. you need a huge number of roaches to be able to do anything against that. Very well teched up lings, cracklings that are 3-3 with the adrenal gland upgrade as well, will trade pretty well against those, but you need to crush under weight of numbers, and Xanathar has got the mineral supply to do that, certainly, but needs to have at least 6 hatcheries to be pumping out the sort of numbers of lings that are going to win against this. Against large numbers of lings, generally you need splash, and I don't know, gzmq, I'm going to say gzmq. Gzmq, is that actually what it's supposed to be? Gzmq? I don't know. Gzmq has actually got these hellbats, and hellbats do well, especially with the blue flame upgrade. So, you know, surrounded by lings, they can do a great job. Now, these medevacs are full of marines, and those marines have 2-1. So these are pretty handy marines, pretty handy looking marines indeed. There are a lot of marines on this map. So let's take a quick look at the army supply. Yeah, that's a substantial lead. And that lead has come about largely by the Terran just always, at all times, having a way better income than the Zerg. Way more money to spend, way more workers throughout this game. I don't think the Zerg has ever led in the worker count, despite being the one that's been aggressive, despite being the one that has managed to slow his opponent's economy down a little bit. But Xanathar just not saturating these bases anywhere close to early enough. Finally is getting some gas on the go, does have a Spire coming, and the Spire can be a really useful, that can be an absolute game swinger. But look at this mech army. Spire, I mean, please don't build Mutalisks, because these Thors will tear them apart. Thors do splash damage in the air, so Thors will do splash damage to air units, particularly effective against light units like Mutalisks. So yeah, a Spire can be a game changer. Mutas are fast, they can get around the map very quickly, and they can get a lot of damage done in your opponent's base when they're looking the other way. We'll see here if these lings can get a surround on the floor. They can focus them down actually pretty quickly, so ling's not a bad chance, not a bad choice, sorry, against the Thors. What you need against lings is, of course, splash damage. So you need these siege tanks that are all the way back at home. Wait, what? Where did the siege tanks go? Did I miss something? You either need those siege tanks or you need those hellbats up front. Now, there is going to be a big drop here. Marines unloading into the main are going to be able to focus down roughly everything. At the same time, we've got like a huge run by of Ling Roach into the main of the Terran. Of course, Lings, Roaches don't shoot up. All of these buildings can just become airborne, and the Thors and Hellbats should actually be enough to sort this out if they stay and fight. You can see that splash damage being done by these Blue Flame Hellions. That Blinding Cloud won't do anything really, because will it with Hellbats? I don't know. It's really useful against ranged units, essentially. Now, the Marines have absolutely emptied the main base, so the only thing that our Zerg can build now is essentially air out of one base. That base is now gone, and this game is over. So that's a horrendous amount of money to have left in the bank. Xanathar, your issue was you didn't expand. You needed to expand. You needed to expand earlier, and you needed to expand more so as not to have spare money. You also needed to keep your gas up with your minerals a little bit, so that you can invest into those roaches or whatever it was that you choose. Mutalisks, as I said, good choice, but they do require quite a lot of gas. Anyway, it is gzmq that goes 1-0 up. GG!